Good morning, friends of the channel. It's big. Yes. Actually, where are we? Outside. Is it hot? Yes. But less so than last week. It's a bit breezy. In fact, we've been putting off this restyling for 2 weeks because we were afraid of coming out here to do this restyling. Before we start the whole process, we'll need to remove a piece because this is a very old piece of furniture that was in a shoe shop. You know the nice ones, those boxes full of shoe? Anyway, those shops that don't exist anymore. The owner of the piece is a friend of mine. His name's David, and this shop was a family business. He's particularly fond of this piece of furniture. He's keen to have it in his home. There's a car horn, so he's keen to have it in his home, so I'm going to restore it to its original state, but we'll make it a little bit more modern and innovative, also because Davide has a beautiful house, and it will provide a contrast in his home. Yes, because his house is beautiful, brand new, and has lots of modern elements with resin floors and very light colours, but he wanted a piece with a bit of edge. What are we going to do? We'll lay it down in a moment because we're going to remove this lower part from here to the bottom because the piece of furniture was actually designed to be original up to this point. So we're not going to throw anything away. In fact, we'll keep this lower part and make something out of it. But I'm sure that by bringing it back to its original state, it'll already be really very elegant. Should we start, Emma? Let's start. It looks like I'm about to rid the world of monsters, but that's not the case, even though I've got a super highly capable assistant behind me today. It's a very interesting vacuum cleaner because when I have to do some sanding, especially vertically, if by any chance you need to do ceilings or things very high up, it helps you a lot because obviously you have it on your back, it doesn't weigh you down. It has super power because it's connected to a 40-volt battery, so it's very, very powerful. And obviously the sander's suction hose is connected to it. So today I'm using this vacuum cleaner connected to the sander. Another very important thing when you have to do jobs and maybe work at height is always this, a random orbital sander. I'm using this one at the moment, again with a very powerful 40-volt battery, which you can attach to your belt, your apron, or whatever makes you, let's say, feel most secure. For now, I'll leave it resting while I'm working here horizontally with the machine. However, if you need to work at height, you have everything you need, and you're certainly less likely to hurt yourself, not to mention the power. What am I doing now? I'm taking out all these drawers that have been numbered. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 drawers. And I'm starting to turn down the whole frame. Why are you sanding, Elisa? Haven't you told us all these years that magic paint sticks to everything without sanding? That's exactly where I wanted you, because I know the question under my posts will be, Elisa, why are you sanding? Because you need to watch the whole tutorial. And Clarissa, when you make the reel, please specify that we're sanding today, because we're using the colour wash technique on raw wood. Obviously, for it to absorb, the wood needs to be raw. So to get it to absorb, I have to remove the shiny paint layer that would prevent the paint from soaking in and therefore washing the wood. Why do I want to use this technique? Because underneath it has some wonderful wood. Come and have a look at all the sides here with me. They're stunning. Look here at this wood knot connected to this one. Very, very old wood, dry wood, wood that has certainly done its job brilliantly over the years. I've already done an initial sanding test here to see what the wood underneath would be like, and it's beautiful. I use this technique, especially when I want to do justice to the wood, letting it breathe again, but without keeping the original colour, because in my opinion, it might not look right in David's space. And to be fair, he likes green, so I already know we'll go for a green. The work is very long, but meticulous. There will be few steps, but they'll be very long today because you have to take out the drawers, sand the frame, remove the handles, which might be rusty, so you need to apply some WD-40 to the screws first, then remove the handles and number them, leaving them inside the drawer with their original screws, sand the drawer fronts, and then always check everything before you start. So you go and see if it's all done properly, if the handles are okay, if they don't need sanding or anything else, filing. We'll do a colour wash, very delicate, and then we'll apply a protective coating before putting the handles back on. Few steps, 4 or 5, but they're massive on a piece of furniture this big. So remember that it's better to do these big jobs outdoors, because even though you might have a good sander with a decent vacuum attachment, you could still end up with dust in the room. I won't have much today, but there could be some. This way you won't fill your house with dust and you won't be breathing in. I'm connecting mine, my vacuum cleaner. It's very powerful. I've put 120 grit sandpaper on it. I'm not starting with anything too coarse because I don't want to scratch this wood. It's very hard, solid wood, so 120 grit paper helps remove this layer. Let's get started. As you can see here, there are two different types of wood. That's not unusual. Back in the day, they did it a lot. They used much harder, more rigid and solid woods for the outer part of the frame, and for the partitions, they sometimes used less noble woods. Here, as you can see, is lighter, and we can see why now, because by sanding, we've removed the stain, which is the colour tone that was dyeing the wood. As you can see, this part's oxidised and darker, while this part is slightly lighter. That's the reason why we'll be doing a colour wash on this piece of furniture later. It could be a lovely idea to keep the woods with different colours and leave it natural, but it's a bit like uncovering the production techniques of this old piece of furniture. What's the carpenter done here? That's more or less the idea. But today we're going to do a wash, so I'll carry on sanding everywhere, especially on the dividers. As you can see, the woodworm have been busy here. Just to be safe, I know there aren't any woodworm at the moment because I haven't seen any more dust. This piece of furniture has been parked here for quite a while, but I'll grab my super machine, press the button, and in 7 minutes, 8 at most, I'll have completely sterilised that part from woodworm. So take my advice, have a think about it, because this machine has saved my life. Now I'm going to move a few metres away because I can't stand directly next to it, as it has specific waves that go and disintegrate the woodworm, and I don't want to be close by. I'm going to go and work on the other side of the furniture. While I'm going over with my sander, Emma's helping with the other, so we get it done faster. 120 grit paper. Sanding down all the drawers, making sure to get them all to the same colour tone, and obviously I'm using the same grit as I used on the furniture. Look at the difference, before, during and after. We're applying wax everywhere. What do I mean by everywhere? On the part where the drawers slide, like this. So on the inside where the drawers actually run, and on the drawer itself. I'll show you. We take the drawer out, then we go over here to where the runners are, where the drawer actually slides, and you simply wax this part, and also the inside of the drawer as well. Not here, obviously, not on the outside, because otherwise we won't be able to do the colour wash later. When you go to put it back in place, just slide it back and forth a little bit so that it really starts to settle into the correct position. This will help the drawers slide for many years to come, and they won't get stuck. I'll carry on. And the last one too. So let's recap. All the drawers have been put back in place because they've been sanded, cleaned, tidied up, and the runners have been waxed. Now we'll leave it overnight because we're very tired. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Tomorrow we'll start with the colour wash. It's important to do everything in an environment where the temperature remains constant. What does that mean? It means that when you go to apply a colour wash over the wood might expand slightly. Of course, then when it dries, it sets. However, bear in mind that even if the drawers are perfect now and slide well, partly because they've been sanded down completely, and when we sanded them, we also sorted out all the sides, as there could have been splinters of wood sticking out, so we wanted to clean everything up properly, do keep in mind that with the colour wash, it might expand slightly. So please make sure you let it dry, and don't worry if the drawer doesn't slide well afterwards. I'll see you again tomorrow. Now, before we carry on with the colouring, we're going to apply some masking tape to the drawers, just to protect the runners. I'm going to apply it vertically, making sure to leave a few centimetres of space that we'll colour in later on, so we won't end up with any unsightly marks or smudges once they are closed. I'll do it on everything, on all the drawers, and then we'll start with the colour. It's very, very hot today. The piece of furniture's beautiful and the owner has changed his mind because we were in doubt until today about whether to do it Olivia or royal green. And last night, Dovaday says to me, what if it were blue? And I told him, I'll only accept sunset blue. It's beautiful. Well, no one. So today it's going to be sunset blue. Right, the process we're about to do is quick, easy and inexpensive because I assure you that painting such a large piece of furniture with a colour that's so highly pigmented and covering like sunset blue will save you a lot of money. We'll use very little of it. This is an almost new can, as you can see. There's only a finger's width missing. Maybe it's not quite 500 millilitres, it might be 450 millilitres. And now I'll dilute it in a plastic container with plenty of water. So I'm diluting it 100% with water. What does that mean? 100 grams of paint, 100 grams of water. I'll stir it really well. I use a soft brush like the King, which helps me work the paint well into the wood fibres. I use the pointed brush to get into some nooks and crannies where the King doesn't reach, like here. Here, just to tone the recessed spots, and I'll go on to colour the whole thing. Why am I doing a 100% water wash today? So why am I diluting it so much? Simply because it is so hot. If you're watching this video in December and you want to try this technique in December, make sure you dilute it less because it won't dry as quickly, yeah? I'm outside, it's hot, so I need to make sure the paint has time to thin out and spread perfectly over the surface. Let's dilute the paint. In this tray, I'm putting more or less 200 grams of paint and the same amount of water. Elisa, why aren't you weighing it? Elisa doesn't weigh it because it's not essential once you know the paint and once you know what you want to achieve. Here, I'm only interested in the paint being very, very, very fluid and diluted. Look at it. As you can see, by diluting it this much, it's become much lighter. But once it's dry on the furniture, the original pigmentation will return. The first tip I'll give you is never, ever, ever forget to stir it. You need to stir it very often with the brush, not with a wooden stick, because it scratches and doesn't mix well. So with your big brush, before picking up the paint, give it a good stir. That way it won't separate. The second piece of advice I'll give you is to wear gloves, because while magic paint is already quite difficult to get off your hands, diluted magic paint won't come off at all, so it's absolutely 100% better to wear gloves. Another thing you need to keep handy when you start a wash is a damp, well-wrung cloth and a dry cloth, because they help you achieve the tone, the colour and the finish you're after. If you don't have these two, you'll have to rush about, and in the meantime it'll dry. Shall we start? Yes. I'll start by showing you a drawer, this edge, and then the side. 3 different challenges, because it's small, it drips, and you must always spread the colour following the wood grain. So here you apply like this, and here you apply like this. So, different challenges. Small and recessed, flat and whiter, long and prone to dripping. 3 different challenges when applying the paint, because here we can't apply it as if it were a kitchen, nice and comfortably horizontal. Here you have to work at different heights. One of the fundamental things is, don't start with a light coloured drawer if you have them too, but start with the parts that are already darker. Do this, leave that one until last, because you need to get the light drawer, the light wood, to the same shade as the wooden side panel, which is darker. So it's essential to work on these levels. It had already separated slightly, even though only a few minutes have passed, so I gave it another stir. It drips a lot because it's very diluted. So guys, you need to drain it, especially since the King brush is one that traps a lot of paint. And now I'll keep the dry cloth nearby. and giving the wood plenty of time to fully absorb the colour tone, because we really want to see some lovely, rich coloured wood, but still ensure that the natural wood grain shows through beautifully. That's the beauty of this technique. Here too. When I get to this point, I need to change brushes. I'll take the pointed brush, pick up a bit of colour, drain the brush well, and obviously go and stain this part where I can't use the king brush because it's too big. You don't go like this here, otherwise you'll end up with a brush stroke that gets absorbed horizontally. You do it like this here, and if by any chance you've got it dirty underneath, clean it immediately with a damp cloth. Mind you is important. You mustn't make brush strokes against the wood grain, yeah. Let's finish this side. Right. Okay, as you can see, in this case, we've covered the wood quite a lot. So at the moment, we're not seeing much of the wood underneath. But don't be fooled, because in the meantime, the wood is soaking it up. It's up to us to decide what to do. Do you want it this dark? Let's leave it like this. Do we want to lime it? We remove it first with a dry one, then we go over it, if needed, with a damp one. And you can see how the wood underneath is toned. The wood is stained blue, but you can perfectly see the wood grain underneath. Our main challenge for today is to ensure that we make the wood look as consistent as possible. The pieces of wood need to be as similar as possible to one another. Now look closely, I've explained the technique and check it. Since this one is darker, this one is medium, and this one is mitre stained, we can take the damp microfiber cloth right now, wipe it lightly and tone the wood. In this way, as you can see, it changes. The wood has a very similar colour. Here on the other hand, where it's darker, what do we do? You apply the colour a second time. I'll leave it in place a bit longer and stain it a bit more. Here, obviously, we should colour the whole thing, including the top part, which is made of less beautiful wood. Let's move on to the side. It's important to follow the wood grain, and obviously, as it's very liquid, it's normal for it to drip, which is why I've put down an absorbent felt sheet on the floor. I'm extending the brush strokes because you shouldn't see half-finished strokes, but long ones that connect the side from bottom to top. So before lightening it with the cloth, I'm lengthening the brush strokes. When it dries, as you can see in this case, the colour lightens. But you don't need to worry, because you should know that when you go on to protect it with the protective coating or wax, it goes back to being the sunset blue colour we chose at the start. Let's start with a dry cloth. This is where you'll see whether you've sanded well or not, because if you've sanded properly, the surface will be perfect, smooth, even, and you won't have any trouble. If you've sanded the surface quite badly and missed a few spots where some of the old paint underneath still remains, I'm afraid I have to tell you that the wood simply won't absorb the colour properly. The more thoroughly you sand and smooth down the surface, the more consistently and beautifully the stain will be absorbed by the wood surface. Let's let it dry, see how it turns out, and in the meantime, I'll start on the drawers. It's important to see the result once it's dry too, otherwise you won't know how to proceed. As you can see, we've put masking tape on the sides. Why? Because the stain mustn't drip here, so we'll stop here. It's important to colour a bit more here because, as you can see, the wood is lighter. Emma has kept the colour stirred for me, so it's nicely mixed, and now I'll colour it. It's easy because I'm working horizontally. It's much simpler to colour horizontally rather than vertically because that way it doesn't drip. Always follow the wood grain. Let's do the front edge. It's essential. Dry cloth. I'll take the part that's already a bit stained with colour, soften it up so there are no streaks, and then wipe it over. I'll lighten it, but not too much, because as I was saying earlier, the light coloured drawers need to be toned a bit more so they don't look too light compared to the frame. You'll be able to see the finished result once it's completely dry, because at the moment you really can't see the wood grain at all, but once it dries, you'll see it perfectly. I'll dry it off a bit more so that when it dries, the grain can come through, and then I'll put it back in its place. As you can see against the light, you can already start to make out the grain, and as it dries, the wood grain will show through more and more. Now it's up to us to decide what to do. I'd much prefer to do all the drawers at once, leave them out on the floor, and then tackle all those little strips. They really do need to be done properly, especially along the sides. That is this specific part here, which will be clearly visible once the drawer is finally closed. So take care. Always make sure you do the inside of the edge properly too. So Emma, let's get stuck in right now and paint all of these drawers. Look at how it's soaking it up. Not all wood, even if it's from the same tree, absorbs in the same way. There are parts of the wood that absorb more and others that absorb less. So mind you, don't think it's always the same simple job. Depending on the wooden strip, it also absorbs the colour differently. Since it's turned out really well, but I want to bring out a bit more of the wood in some places, I'll use the sander, vacuum cleaner and 320 grit sandpaper, so very fine, and go over it. Maybe I'll press a bit harder in some spots, less in others, so that on the large smooth areas I just give it a, let's say, polish, a bit of a smoothing, so the paint stays smooth, velvety, lovely before I protect it. Right, let's go. Now Clarissa will come over here to where I am. She'll show you this wall against the light. You'll see that it's shiny because it's not true that chalk paint stays rough. Sure, it stays rough if you don't smooth it or if you don't protect it. But now she'll even show you against the light that this side of the piece of furniture is shiny and feels incredibly velvety. Emma, run your hand over it. You can see against the light that it's shiny, you can see the sheen, and it's not even protected yet. This step, as well as making the paint super velvety, also makes the paint much more durable. I'll carry on. Are you ready for the magic? Right, come closer and see what happens when you protect a piece of furniture. Whether it's wax or a protective coating, it makes no difference, but when you nourish it, it comes to life. I'll show you a bit of this side and a drawer so you get it. Brush just for waxes, load it up well and I'll go here. I'm applying plenty, it then needs to be massaged in. Obviously here it's lengthways on just one side, but when I come over here, it's better to apply it with crisscross brush strokes. So first like this, and then obviously the final brush must always be smoothed out lengthways, because otherwise you'll see it against the light. Did you see that? Isn't it spectacular? The colour becomes beautiful, vivid, rich, hydrated, nourished. A spectacular piece of furniture. While the girls help me protect it all, I'll also start fitting the handles. Come and have a look at a drawer. The drawer might be slightly different, slightly lighter, precisely because it's a different wood. Let's start from here so you can see everything clearly. Look at the drawer. Crisscross brushstroke. Smooth lengthways. It's spectacular. Clarissa, move back. Show them how beautiful it is. Do we like it? Right, you do the waxing, I'll start placing the handles. It looks finished. Yes. Shall we show them how we set it? See you in a bit. Bye. We changed its intended use. It was supposed to be an office piece of furniture. I mean, to have this used in a small room too. But in the end, we looked around and said, but how well does this tone go with the colour of the pool in this beautiful house? So we put it here in this part of the porch where we actually needed a piece of furniture to store things that are more useful during the day for parties and general utility. And it looks so good that it even warms up the beauty of this extremely modern house. It's a perfect combination. In my opinion, it also goes really well with this bespoke antique effect floor. It almost looks like a colour wash. Now I'll leave you with the photos. The photos are the process for this beautiful piece of furniture. You know that the products used aren't available on Amazon or in chains like Leroy Merlin, but you can only find them on the magicpaint.it website, where you can also find my stockists listed by region. Emma would say, pop your postcode into the box so you can immediately see the one nearest to you. Can I say happy holidays? Because it's still August, so happy holidays. Goodness, it's hot. I must have an aperitif.